you really have to be like your top advocate for yourself in this world. It's like in this industry too. It's like, if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't love yourself, if you don't, really learn to trust yourself, like I feel like you'll just end up listening to all these voices and you'll get lost.
Hey everyone, I'm Melissa Brasilia. This is Very Human, a dynamic podcast that celebrates the human experience by nourishing meaningful and open conversation, where we encourage unity, consciousness, and self-discovery. Today, we're talking to my dear friend, Jules Aurora. She shares her journey as she rediscovers herself during the pandemic, heals from heartbreak, and learns to understand the true definition of self-love. What's better than a 60s themed slumber party to catch up, dive in, and unravel? Thanks to our sponsor, Gleeman, for supporting this episode.
Ooh, what do you got going on here?
Hi, lovely. I'm just cutting up some fresh fruit for us.
So good.
Yeah.
I can't wait to eat all this.
Oh my God, it's going to be amazing, right? And I poured you some hot tea over there.
Thank you.
It's ginger.
Yum. My favorite.
Yeah, mine too. It's so nice to see you. It's been like forever.
I know, my Aquarius sister.
Yeah, Aquarius. I love it.
I know, it's been a whole year, I think,
Yeah.
since we've seen each other.
Beautiful COVID.
Yeah, yeah.
Keeping us apart from each other.
I know, but the distance makes the heart grow fonder. That's what they say.
That is so true. But what have you been up to?
I've just been focusing on myself, focusing on, everything I can control, and just been going through a lot of changes and adjusting to this new way of living. So it's been challenging, but
I'm sure, last year was quite challenging, I think, for everyone. It made us kind of really quiet down and get still and really go inward. And I think a common theme for a lot of people was, being in solitude and embracing spirituality.
Yeah.
And kind of taking in those moments. And I know it can feel uncomfortable at times, but a lot of beauty comes from all of that.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. I think this year is the first year that I really dove deep into, my spirituality and just on that journey of self-love and of discovering, how to take care of myself and my heart better.
I love that. I advocate that self-love.
Yeah. And I think it's it comes with a lot of, challenges. I've never been forced to slow down as much as I had this past year. And I think, meditating helps and reading and all of that stuff. So yeah, it's been a journey.
A beautiful journey though, I'm sure, even though it can be challenging, right? How has life been in the sense of work and your career with having to kind of pump the brakes for about a year, right?
Yeah.
How's it been for you? What's that looking like?
It's been definitely a challenge. I think one of the things that keeps me going is I just try to focus on the things that I can control in these circumstances. So granted, a lot of my concerts were canceled and a lot of opportunities got postponed, and that was really hard, but everyone's going through it. And I'm just okay, what can I do that I have control over? So I've been focusing on, honing in on my craft and just using the time that I have, which we have more time than ever. So just using that to get better at singing, get better at my content creation, my recording, my acting, and all of it. So career-wise, that's what I've been doing.
Do you feel like you've grown from it though, with the having to kind of adapt to this new way of living?
It's definitely forced me to think of new ways of doing things. And you have to be adaptable in life,
totally.
Just to change. And I'm so grateful for the opportunities that I've had to perform, even though it's been virtual. It's been pretty awesome still. So
absolutely. I know you're developing in the sense of your career and you're developing in the sense of self-love. What are those obstacles looking like?
Slowing down for me was always an obstacle in the sense that normally when I go through tough times or go through, any challenge in life, I have habit probably not the best habit of distracting myself with like just being on the go, whether it be like an event or a photo shoot or a, you know, an interview or a concert or whatever it may be. I just try to keep my schedule really busy. And I feel like I got a lot of worth from that in the past. And this year really forced me to, you know, find my worth within myself and, you know, not rely on external, whatever it be, my job or social media or a guy to validate, you know, my worth.
Okay. I feel it. And I love it.
That got deep.
I love that though. And it's so true. It's really true. And I know that you're recently single.
Mm-hmm. I am. It has been a journey. I think it's my first, you know, serious relationship as an adult that ended. And it's definitely been probably the most transformative, like post-breakup that I've had, especially going through it with the added layer of COVID. Like breakups are already terrible and always hard. But then like going through it in solitude just added another layer of like, whoa, that is not what I expected. But I think I'm grateful for it because it's helping me and pushing me and forcing me to grow into a stronger woman. And so I'm really grateful, you know, for even the heartbreaks, because it just means I loved hard.
That right there. You know, I want to dive into this conversation more. You want to go get more comfortable in the living room?
I am so down.
Okay, cool. Let's go.
Let's do it.
So talk to me, Jules. I know last year was a challenge and a very vulnerable moment.
Yeah.
Being in a space of a lot of uncertainty and a lot of emotions because of quarantine and COVID. It's already a heightened experience, right?
Yeah,
and
sure.
You add a breakup to that. I can imagine how difficult that could be.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like you said, it's just breakups are hard by themselves and COVID is hard by itself. And then you add both of them together and it's like, you know, this whole... It was kind of just a big turning point for me, to be honest. Like this whole explosion of like a lot of things that were unexpected happening all at once. And it was really difficult, you know, to face all of that. And it also brought up a lot of things that I think I had been, you know, holding in and not addressing and like running from, where the pause in life really forced me to address, you know, a lot of the past trauma, I guess, that I've been through in my life.
Right, because I think normally when people go through breakups, we're able to distract ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? We can go hang out with our friends. We can bury ourselves in work. We can do so many other things to not really have to focus on that emotion if we don't want to, right?
Yeah.
Where last year, it's like you really did not have a choice. Like it's just sit in that space and face that. Going through that breakup, what were you experiencing?
I know I called you multiple times crying.
Yeah.
It was a lot of tears, I guess, to be honest. And, you know, like you said, it's like with everything happening on the outside, was stressful, you know, in and of itself. And then the breakup, I think what I was feeling was just like I, for the first time, had to find, you know, my self-worth and self-love with, you know, within myself versus from outside distractions or even social media or having a boyfriend or from, you know, my work or whatever job I got next or whatever gig I got next. And I think I had a bad habit of like, you know, really relying on external validation. And we all need validation to a certain extent, but I think, you know, for me, like, I always relied on that external, like, oh, you're doing great, you know?
You're doing great, sweetie.
Like to feel worthy and to feel self-love and to feel like I'm proud of myself. And I think through quarantine, like it really forced me to create that love for myself and not rely on, you know, anything or anyone else to make me feel that way.
Yeah. But before you get to that point, right, there's a whole process.
Yeah.
There's a whole just kind of like shedding off those layers, and that you have to really kind of sink into that space in order to do that.
Yeah.
So sometimes you've got to kind of hit that rock bottom.
I definitely hit that, I think. I mean, I've definitely hit that multiple times in my life.
Yeah.
In different ways. But yeah, it was just like definitely a dark place at certain points where I would just be crying for multiple nights, you know, just it's hard to like, I know you know this, but you know, my last partner passed away with that happening 3 years ago. And then now this was the first relationship, you know, that I had since then. And it was the first time I really like opened myself up to love again. And that made it even more painful, you know, having that not work out, you know, for the second time. Well, not the second time. I've had multiple relationships, but I think that was like the really only other substantial relationship that I actually, you know, saw a future with someone, and having that not work out and then having to go through that alone definitely forced me to grow a lot.
Were you thinking about both relationships at the same time and kind of going through the first experience and kind of looking at them both like, okay, why? Were you asking yourself why? Or
yeah, I think with my first serious boyfriend, when he passed away 3 years ago, like, you know, I never thought, I never took the time to process that, I think. And so in quarantine, it really forced me to face all of that heartache that I had previously been like running away from. And then on top of that, like, I think, of course, this new relationship that I had, like, it was the first time that I opened up again. So it definitely, you know, I was definitely thinking of both of them. I think every love is so beautiful in its own way. So anytime I go through like a heartbreak, or even writing songs, like I've written songs, I think, about all of my experiences in love. I think they stand alone. You know, you can't really compare two relationships or two people. Like they're special in their own ways, but I was definitely feeling the effects of both of them at the same time. So I guess that's how I could word it.
Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine having both of those relationships come to you full force in a space like last year, and then being by yourself. Because you kind of went through last year in quarantine, a lot of it by yourself, right? After the breakup, like your family doesn't even live here. Yeah,
my family's kind of spread out. They're like on the East Coast.
Right.
And then they come back, like my dad is in San Diego every once in a while, and then he visits my mom and my sister who are on the East Coast. But I was mainly alone. I definitely think that, you know, in a way I'm grateful for it, because to be honest with you, like, you've known me for, you know, over 10 years.
Yeah.
But I've always had a boyfriend. And
it's true. You have. You have.
Let's be honest. Yeah. So this is the first time I really had, you know, a period of being single, like for real as an adult. And like that was such a new challenge for me. And I'm grateful for, in a way, for all of the heartbreak and stuff, and for it happening during COVID. Even though that's a weird thing to be grateful for, I do think that there's something positive to be gained, because I don't think I would have been forced to grow and be my own best friend and be my own source of love had I not been forced into that. And I do ask myself, like, why? Like, why? You know, often, like, especially when we lose people, whether it be, you know, from this earth or lose relationships, like it's all grief. And it takes time to process. And it's been like a lot of journaling and a lot of meditating and affirmations and all of that work.
It's a whole process, right?
It really is.
Yeah, I know.
It really is. But it's I feel like I'm getting to a good place, a better place, and I'm moving forward. And I think, you know, in life, that's all we can do is like, we go through things, we go through tough things, and then we move forward and grow from them. And that's, you know, it's just part of the evolution. Like you said, transformation. So, like the butterfly has been my spirit insect.
Your spirit animal, your power animal. Yeah.
What of that?
Yeah, I get that though. I want to go back really quickly and really hone in on that moment for you when you are, let's say, in your room by yourself, right? No one's there clapping or rooting for you. It's just Jules.
You're gonna make me cry.
But it's just Jules. Yeah. I feel like I'm gonna cry because I feel like I know you and I know that journey. And as women, like we go through those things, and they take a toll on you, and they take a piece from your soul and from your heart, and that never really gets recovered. Yeah, it never really comes back. You just have to dig deep and find a way to get up every morning and keep going. Right.
I think, you know, having friends like you and having girlfriends that can like, you can call when you're having those moments. Like I definitely, like when it is only you, like in your room, it's just sometimes, you know, on social media, it's crazy because like, you know, in public or on stage, like there's this Jules that has it like all together. And that's not always the case. Obviously, I'm human. So it's like, I'm crying already.
Okay.
But yeah,
this is a safe space.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to be that person cheering for you or telling yourself that like you're enough. And I think that's still something I'm working on. But I'm getting better. And like I think being a woman and being, you know, a woman of color too, like this year has just been these 2020 and 2021 even. Yeah. Like for it's just been so challenging and like having to, you know, you really have to be like your top advocate for yourself in this world. It's like in this industry too. It's like if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't love yourself, if you don't, you know, really learn to trust yourself, like I feel like you'll just end up listening to all these voices and you'll get lost.
Telling you who you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to act like, right?
Yeah, whether it be like your boyfriend or the industry or, you know, society. Yes. And so, yeah, just learning to say I am enough and actually like believe it.
That was what was happening for Jules?
Yes.
in her room? Like, going through that?
Yeah, I mean, I still go through it. I think it's something that I'm working through. And it's crazy because a lot of people don't really know that or assume that when they meet me or, you know, in other interviews or red carpet things or whatever. It's just like, I'm always happy. And then sometimes I get DMs that are like, how are you always happy? And I'm like,
I get those too. And it's like,
and I'm like, I'm not always happy. I will say though that I do always see the positive, like past the pain. Like even though things feel, you know, shitty in a moment, it's like there's always like a way to grow from it. So if I look at it that way, it helps me a lot.
So are you putting on like your game face when you're going to work or interacting with people on a daily basis or even just like being on social media, right? It's like, is it like, okay, let me just show the world like this positive, optimistic Jules because this is what people expect from me. Also, it's like, this is what keeps you feeling probably powerful and strong, you know? Do you find that sometimes being more vulnerable, there's power in that and like being able to like say like, this is my truth and not every day is a happy-go-lucky day, you know? Like you said, I'm a human. Like I have emotions. I have these moments of sadness and grief and all of that heartbreak. Do you find there to be power in that as well, of being able to say, hey, today I'm not okay?
Honestly, just listening to you say that, like it resonates with me so much because I definitely, like, I've never, in my life prior to 2020, I never really opened up on social media in a vulnerable way, or like shared my journey with breakups, or even, when my ex passed away, the first one, like 3 years ago, I didn't share that with anyone. Like, I was very, kind of closed off in that sense. Like, I guess I was scared to be vulnerable. It's scary to be vulnerable, especially, I have a growing fan base. So it's like, also I want there to be like a level of professionality, but also I want to remind people that I'm human, and I do go through all of these things that people talk about and also go through. And I found that when I actually shared that, and when I was like, hey, I'm going through a breakup right now, like this is, and I even posted like a couple stories or posts where I'm like crying, or just a vulnerable caption of where I'm actually at. I found that even with music too, like the most vulnerable songs and best songs that I have are the real ones, where I just felt everything I needed to feel and shared it. And I think that's like what I want to just continue to do. And it's not, also I want to say, it's not that the positive Jules is not me. Like, that's also me. It's just another side of me. And I think we're all so multifaceted, and there's like so many
complex.
Yeah. Different
Human design
versions.
is super complex. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to be able to share, more versions of myself and be more authentic, which is something that I'm working on being more so of in life and on social media, in every way.
Would you say it's liberating to some extent?
Yeah, it is. I think it is liberating. And there's some like peace that I found too with sharing like what I was going through. And it helped me process and heal a lot of the pain that I felt from my last breakup. And music too. Like, I wrote a couple ballads about these two loves. So, yeah.
I feel like when you can be vulnerable publicly, you're able to like take that energy that's within you and like kind of just shed it, right?
Yeah.
You feel kind of lighter at the end of the day, especially when you have a craft like you do. You can make music, and you can really share it through your passion of singing. It creates an impact too. It's like a ripple effect, because you never know who's watching your stories or on your feed or listening to your music, who that might impact and resonate with. And then they come to you one day, right?
Yeah.
And say, wow, like, I saw your post, or I heard your song, and it really made me feel like I was seen, or I'm going through that same experience. Have you had a lot of feedback in that way?
Yeah, just hearing you say that like makes me cry, because whenever I get messages that are, saying that, oh, I saw your post and I'm going through the same thing, like I just went through a breakup, or like this song really helped me, I have it on repeat, like it makes me feel like I have purpose, and I just read this really good book, Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty, and he talks a lot about, purpose and your just functioning from a place of service. And I think that when I can use my, my art and my platform as a way to help others, or just resonate with others, or connect with others, and make people feel seen and feel like they're not alone, like that gives me so much. That reminds me like, oh, I'm here, for a reason. And yeah, it gives me a lot of motivation to move forward, because like it's cool to do shoots. It's cool to we're living in LA, like doing things that a lot of people wouldn't even attempt, which is really something special in itself. But what really drives me is like not all of that. It's like the impact that you can make on other people's lives. Like that, I think to me keeps me moving forward and keeps me grounded. And all of those, I mean, as humans, we all just want to be seen, you know, with this Stop Asian Hate movement and the Black Lives Matter movement. Like, everyone just wants to be acknowledged, whether it's, you know, on that level, like that big scale, or just in a relationship or with friendships. Like, just see me and, like, you know, love me for who I am. And yeah, if I can make someone feel more seen, then I'm doing my little job, you know?
I love that. Because it's so true. It's like people do just want to be seen and accepted. I think as human beings, that's the one thing we want, is just acceptance for being who you actually are.
Yeah.
You know? And that is a challenge within itself. I always really admire people who are just like so raw in who they are, and they're like, hey, this is me, and if you don't like it, I don't really give a damn.
Yeah, you are amazing at that, by the way.
Thank you. But I also have my moments too, you know, and it's a lot of practice that comes from that, because we're all humans, you know, and it's the same thing. It's like, okay, looking in the mirror, like, be yourself today, you know, like just do what you do best. Because the moment you step outside of that, it's not natural.
Yeah.
It's not who you truly are.
Yeah.
So when people do receive that, and they're like, yeah, I like this person. You're like, oh my God, this is who I am. Thanks for liking me. You know, like, it's like, wow, let me just continue to do that.
Yeah.
This is what comes to me. This is who I am. So I really applaud you for taking that leap. And
I applaud you too.
Thank you. But yeah, it's powerful. And when you do have a platform like you do, you have a lot of eyes on you. And that makes it even more difficult sometimes. And I don't think people actually understand that, because when you have a lot of people, you know, being spectators and being opinionated and judging, because the internet can be a scary place.
Yeah.
You know, and when you put yourself out there, you're just like, okay.
Definitely have that.
Yeah. Because it's a scary place. And like, once you get like a bad, you know, response or feedback, it's like, oh, it hurts, right? So yeah, to be able to actually to show up in that way and say, hey, listen, here's my truth. Take it or leave it. It's powerful.
It really is. And it's crazy because, like you said, like the out of 500 comments that are positive, there's like a couple that are not. And then those couple, for some reason, they like hurt. But it's getting better. I'm getting better at like filtering that out. Just like, okay, you don't determine who I am. You know, I do.
Say it again.
Yeah. And that goes for like relationships too. And I mean, my goal right now is just, I want to show up more authentically, and like, I'm just trying to grow like into my best self so I can show up better in relationships, show up better like in my career and just in this world. And I think it definitely is a hard thing putting yourself out there and, you know, being you. Like, there's this whole challenge I just posted on my story that was like, the filter versus unfiltered.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I love that.
And it's cute. Yeah. It's like, you know, especially with these filters now, it's like they literally distort your entire face to be what society is like that's pretty. And it's just like, no, I think we all just need to learn to love our flaws and embrace them. And like, I had this really bad I still have this bad habit of like perfectionism with everything, with like my work. Like, I'm just like, oh, I can't release that song. There's this like one part, there's this cover or this like little part that I just hate. and then it just never gets released. And I feel like if you live your life from like always having to be perfect, or it's a lot of pressure for one. And then you just
self-inflict.
Yeah. And you just don't move forward as fast. So I think authenticity is definitely key.
It's a practice though, to get there, I think. Especially in the world that we live in today, where it's easy to compare yourself to other people and be judged and be able to see that judgment in a matter of seconds, you know? So it's a practice.
Yeah.
And it's like really going through it in your mind. Like, I'm just going to be who I am today. I'm going to show up. And I don't care what everyone else has to say, because I always tell myself, do they pay my rent? No. So I don't care, you know? At the end of the day, as long as you know you're a good human, that you're here to share love and positivity, and you show up in all these other facets. It's like...
Yeah. And that's like the goal.
What it is.
It's like, I just want to make a positive impact on the people that I come across. you know, the people that I've loved, everyone that I've loved, whether it be like you, like this friendship love, you know, or my family or my romantic partners. Like, I just want them to leave feeling like, oh, well, at least I experienced love, or I grew from this, or we were there for each other during that period of time. Or like a fan could be like, well, that song helped me through this time. Like, yeah. And I think that's, you know, part of the whole journey.
Yeah, and I think that's very, very selfless too, because you're thinking about your impact on other people and how you make them feel when you interact with them. You know, some people don't think about those things. So, yeah, showing up for yourself, but also showing up for other people. But you got to show up for yourself first, right?
Yeah.
To properly show up for others,
which is so crazy, right? Like, it's so crazy too, because like I said, like being hard on yourself, being a perfectionist, or not. Like when I'm not gentle with myself, like how could I forgive someone? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like you need to practice that even with you.
Like actually. Though.
Yeah, like
be nice to yourself.
Yeah,
like,
that's so hard.
Be gentle.
Like I'm so mean. Yeah.
I mean, negative thoughts, negative thoughts is a real thing.
It is.
It's like there's no one meaner to you than yourself, you know? And you're just like, oh my God, just be nice. Just be nice. It's always like, I always say, would you be mean to the little version, the kid version of you, the little girl? Mm-hmm. Like, you wouldn't. You would baby her, right? You'd be like, you okay? It's always going to be fine. But your adult version, for some reason, is just...
Yeah, and it's like this habit that I had of just being tough on myself. And I think in one way, like, my dad actually told me this. He was like, yeah, you're very, like... set in your, like, you're stubborn, but it works well with your goals. Because in terms of like my goals, like obviously it helps me move forward because I'm just like pushing myself to grow because I'm just like set on that. But in everything else, it makes it a little bit more challenging.
So showing up for yourself, which you have been doing a lot more of as of recently and last year. Can you tell me your definition of what self-love means to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think self-love is a mixture of a lot of things. It's showing up for yourself in those moments, you know, when you don't have anyone else and you don't have anyone to tell you. I mean, we kind of touched on it earlier, like when you don't have someone there to affirm things for you or to validate anything. Like, self-love to me means showing up for myself and being my own best friend, my own cheerleader. And I actually did this one practice a couple days ago, actually, that I read. I follow a couple really good accounts. And one of them suggested that you write yourself a love letter, like one that you would want from someone else, or that you would write to someone else, like, and just write it in the most like loving way possible. For me, my love language is words of affirmation. So it was actually a challenge though, to write myself a love letter. Like, I've written so many love letters for boys, but like, this is the first time I did it for myself. And I actually like got really emotional because I read it back. And then even when I go through tough moments, like when I went through tough moments after writing that, like, it said to like return to it. So I just returned to it. And even that practice, like, of just, wow, okay, like, you're doing great, Jules.
You're doing great, sweetie. Like, I love it. As you break bad habits, what good habits are you implementing?
I've been waking up earlier, which has helped me a lot. I love watching the sunrise, like with the morning sun. There's something about morning sun that's
gives you life.
It does. Yeah. And I never used to be a morning person, but that's like new for me.
Rise and shine.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
I actually have a pillow on my bed. It says rise and thrive.
Ooh.
Yeah. So waking up early, and then I do a gratitude journal. So I have, it's kind of like this little outline. So 3 things I'm grateful for, affirmations, and then 3 things that would make today amazing. And then I do a meditation. And then I have my cup of coffee, go about my day. So those are like some rituals though that I have like set in place every day that I do. And then at the end of the day, I do a journal and another meditation.
If you break that ritual, does it throw you off balance?
Yeah, like sometimes when I'm on set late, I have to, because I'm like exhausted by the time I get home and I don't have time to write a journal. It does throw me off a little bit, but I think as long as I'm doing it pretty consistently, like it's definitely added that discipline, in my life, and like that sense of, okay, I got this. And just that grounded feeling and setting my intentions for the day. Like, how do I want to show up in this world? Like, that's something I can ask myself at any point in the day, and I can also sit back and be like, wow, I'm so grateful. Like, look at this beautiful fire and these beautiful humans, and there's in this tea, like there's always like something to be grateful for. And I think you don't really need very much to
The simplest pleasures.
Yeah,
right?
and it's like training your mind to just think differently, and you do it enough, and that's just how you start showing up. So.
Yeah. 100%. I absolutely agree with that. Sometimes like something as simple as a good face mask at the end of the day can do wonders for your spirit.
I love a good face mask.
Me too. I'm big on them because, first of all, it really is an act of self-love. And even just sitting, like you said, and looking at, the candle flicker, and seeing the birds chirp. Yeah. It's like, this feels good. And I'm taking a moment to myself to be still and to just be present and to just be grateful for my breath right now and be alive, And I hope that a lot of people from this last year moving on into 2021 kind of came to some type of realization about how blessed we are to just have the simplest things in life.
Yeah.
There's a word, I may slaughter it because it's Danish, but it's my favorite word, but I may still slaughter it. It's called Haiji, or I think.
Oh, yes, I've seen that.
Yes,
okay.
And it's literally like just, the simplest pleasures in life. And I truly believe in that. It's like just having family and friends.
Yeah, I think I just totally agree with you. Like, it's just, there's always something to be grateful for. And then I think even when you're like going for your daily walk or whatever, like I love being in nature. I love being on the beach or
the best
hiking, or like, we always find these magical places too.
I seek them. I'm like, where can I go be in magic? I wanna go.
I know. And it's just like, there's always something new to notice. And I think a lot of people get so caught up. Like, I know before this past year of lockdown, like I was moving so fast that a lot of the times I didn't notice little things, or I didn't take the time to be present. And there's so much power in being present, like not stressing out the future, not ruminating on the past, but just being here. And like that, there's just so much power in that.
Even what you were saying earlier about like the butterflies, we were talking about that, and you were just saying how like you see these butterflies now, and there are these signs to you, especially when you're seeking for a sign, and then you see this butterfly coming by, and you're like, oh, I see you, I feel you, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I totally believe in there's something greater than us out there, in my opinion. Like, I just believe that, especially having lost people that I really loved, and I just feel their presence sometimes, like whether it's like my Lolo, my grandpa, or my love that I lost. Like, I think it's weird because, like you said, like butterflies will just fly all around my face, like when I'm thinking of like, God, please give me a sign that, I'm on the right path or something. And then something will happen, or a ladybug, or like, I don't even know.
But you have to be like present in that moment to really see those signs. Because if you're distracted and not present, flies right by, literally. And you don't get the signs. So those things really make a huge difference. Well, I'm happy that you are finding that self-love for yourself, because it's a lot of work, and
I think sometimes you really have to ask yourself, like, do I really love myself? And like, how am I loving myself? How am I showing up for myself? And what are the things that I'm doing to cultivate all the energy that I need to thrive in this world?
Yeah. And I think a lot of it too is also not only like doing face masks and doing stuff like that, but, really addressing those painful parts of yourself that you might have suppressed or ignored for so long, which is what I did. And just learning to grow from those experiences and just like reflecting on my last relationship, there are ways that he could have done things differently, but there are also things that I take ownership of too. And I can't like hate myself for that, but it's just like loving myself through that. And it's not something that I want to face. Nobody wants to look at something and be like, oh, I could have, done that better. I messed up here, but it's essential, I think, to grow. And it's part of self-love that probably, most people don't address. Normally they're just like, yeah, take a bubble bath. But I think it's tougher. It's more than that. It's healing the parts of yourself that you don't want to face.
Yeah. That self-awareness.
Yeah.
Huge. To be able to look back at all of those things and reflect and say, okay, because I think a lot of times we like to throw the issues onto other people and say, well, they could have done this better, or they should have shown up like this. And we oftentimes don't want to look at ourselves because that is a difficult thing to do, to be like, okay, well, you're not perfect, because our ego tends to get in the way, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that ego, man, comes in and you're like, ah! But when you start practicing these rituals of self-awareness and self-care and self-love, you have to take in the good and the bad. Yeah. And so being able to say, okay, maybe this relationship didn't work out with this person, and not just say, oh, well, he was a bad guy because X, Y, and Z, and I was perfect and I did nothing wrong. It's very mature.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I think, and that's what I was saying too, like with this being my first adult relationship and not, to undervalue relationships that I've had in the past, because those are beautiful too. But like this previous one is just like, it forced me to look at things that I never looked at. And like you said, just owning your role is hard, because it is very easy to just want to be right and to just be like, yeah, he did this and did that. And I'm just, I'm the victim. But it's not even like that. Like sometimes, or actually, all the time, I think in every relationship, especially if it doesn't work out, it's like, okay, there's obviously something that I could have done better, or could have shown up in a different way. And at least from my experience, that's what I found. And I'm definitely, I think, becoming a woman that I can be proud of. And that, they always say too, like, become the kind of partner that you want to attract, instead of like looking for that person, be that person. And like, that's been one of my mantras, like, okay, I'm just going to be that person that I want.
Right. Cause like they do also say, they I don't know if they are, but that a lot of times those people in your relationship are just a reflection of who you are and where you're at. So as you mentioned, being that person that you want to attract means you will eventually find that human out there who matches that.
I totally think so. Like you know me, I'm like a hopeless romantic, and I think it's my love of Disney, my love of chick flicks. Like, I don't know, that's just I've always believed in love. I've always loved everything and jumped into things. And sometimes it does like get my heart broken at times. But at least I can say, I gave my all. Like whether it's with my career or my goals or in love, like I'm so grateful to have even experienced love multiple times in my life, Like some people don't even have that experience, and it's just like, okay, yes, like it hurts still that it's not working out and or that like I've lost someone, but I'm proud of myself for putting myself out there, because I think there are moments within every relationship that are just like, wow, like, damn, like we really loved each other. Like we really had a good time in that moment. And I'm grateful because like, to me, that's like magic.
It is magic. I mean, that's the human experience, right?
Yeah.
To be able to live those experiences, whether they were rough or beautiful, it's like you're going to learn so many lessons from that and be able to implement it into being the better version of yourself tomorrow. And so heartbreak, all of that, I think it is magic.
Yeah, it is.
It's quite the experience, for sure.
It's definitely transformative, but you know, we, like, you and I are very similar. I think maybe it's the Aquarius in us, but like once we love someone, it's like you get
everything. Yeah. Takes a minute. When we're there, it's like,
yeah, but when you're there,
yeah.
like there's no doubt, you know, and I just want to keep showing up that way because that's who I am.
You should never change that. Yeah. Always show up like that. I have another question for you too. In regards to relationships, you know, society puts a lot of strain on how women and men are supposed to be like in a relationship. Did you learn a lot from this past relationship in the sense of like, maybe he didn't have to be a certain way that you possibly expected from him or expected from yourself? Like, did you find any growth or development or the big aha moments in that?
Yeah, I mean, I think for both of us, like in this recent breakup that I've had, it's like we both realized the ways in which we could have, you know, built a better foundation. I think that was one of the big aha moments. Like, and also, the expectations we had on each other sometimes were not the healthiest. And I think that it's definitely like, yes, there's a certain, like, there are boundaries and that's healthy. And I think the communication is like a big part of setting boundaries and setting these, like, what does a relationship mean to you? What does trust mean to you? What is, you know, all your definition of things? Because his definition of things differed from my definition of things a lot of the time. And I think that that's where we, you know, didn't align and found out that we just weren't agreeing on some really core things. And I think that's really important to, you know, find someone that you align with in the ways that, you know, are innately who that person is. Because you don't want to get into a relationship and be like, I want to change this and this and this and this. Like, no, like, that's not love. Like, you want that person to be free to be who they are and you to be free to be who you are and then to come together. And that's the biggest thing I've learned. Like, and I want him to be free and be who he is. And that's why I think, like, at this point, it's like the greatest thing I can do is let go. And that's really hard, you know, like it hurts my heart that it didn't work out for both of us, you know, because I love him. But it's like, you know, I think, like exactly what you said, it's a big aha moment of growth that came from all of that.
Yeah.
That in the relationship.
Was that what you would define a healthy relationship would look like?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, just showing up for each other, you know, because we're all imperfect and showing up for each other. It's a balance of like loving that person for who they are, but also challenging them and to grow and giving them the space, you know, to grow. So it's kind of like a balance of both. But I think, yeah, the biggest thing that I learned is there are ways in which like a person just is innately. And like, yes, you can change small things like picking up your socks or something, but like a person's values and a person's core of who they are, like, I think that that's not something you should even want to change. I think it's just a matter of, does this align? Like, does this work for me? Is this supportive for both of us and our evolution as humans? Like, do we encourage each other to be the best versions of ourselves? Like, do we become the best versions of ourselves when we're together? And like, that's ultimately what I want. And to just feel safe and like seen and held. And I don't mean that physically. I mean that like, hold my heart and be gentle with it. Like that's what I want. I know, I'm gonna cry.
Oh, it's so beautiful. It's like so true though. I feel like we all that's what we want, is to feel safe with our partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's hard because a lot of the times, like, we're attracted to people that may not be, maybe it's exciting, or maybe it's like
your heart pounding. It's adrenaline. It's like going on a roller coaster.
Yeah. But like, I want like a healthy love. I don't want like to feel unsure all the time, or, to feel like I can't be myself, or for my partner to feel like he can't be himself, So I think the goal is for both of us to be ourselves, both of us to be evolving, and then to hold space for all of that together, It's kind of like a friendship with some fire.
Flames. Yeah, it's true though. It is a friendship. It starts, I think the healthiest relationships start as friends. Mm-hmm. A friendship is so important for that solid foundation because you see each other. Mm-hmm. Friends choose to be friends. Mm-hmm. Partners choose to be partners. Mm-hmm. It's because you love each other for like who you are inside. Yeah. You're able to understand each other on a deeper level than just physical. Mm-hmm. It's mentally and it's soulfully, spiritually, it's all of those things. And that's, I think I would say, number one. Yeah. That friendship is so, so important.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I think, that's what we all just, I think the whole theme of this conversation has, now that we're reaching like the end, is just like being seen. And it's so simple yet so like
complicated.
Yeah. Yeah.
It tends to be like that, but eventually when you do the work, you start to surround yourself with people who see you. Mm-hmm. And you see them. Mm-hmm. And it's a process sometimes, but when that's a goal, it's an intention.
Yeah, I've actually like journaled about all of this too. Like, not only what do I want in a partner, but like what can I bring to the relationship, and what do I want that relationship to look like? Like, that's also another practice that I've done that's helped me, visualize the type of space that I want in my next.
Then it's on its way to you. I'm a big believer in manifestation. Anything that you can visualize and you can actually write and put on paper or like speak out loud to the universe. They say be careful with what you say, right? And you speak out loud because it does happen.
It's so true.
Yeah, so if you're writing that down and you're visualizing what that looks like for you and who that person looks like, then it's on its way.
Yeah, I trust. I also like do manifestations and stuff for my career stuff, and like obviously too, like in a relationship, I think one thing I didn't talk about is like also having your sense of self. Like, you should be a whole person on your own.
Yes.
And that's like a big thing, actually, that I forgot to say. Like, showing up and being that whole person and not needing someone to complete you, is like a huge, huge thing. And I think I did come from a place of need, in my past. And that's something that I'm obviously working on now. And it's like now I can start showing up as like, with a stronger sense of like my best self and wholeness.
Well, to me, that sounds like the silver lining.
It definitely is. My first EP is called The Silver Lining.
Oh, would you look at that? And it's like, for real, it's the silver lining. Because even though there's all that challenge and all that, you have like that moment of, sadness and dark places that you have to go to get there. You're coming through now and to this space of light. Mm-hmm. And it's always going to be a healing process.
It is scary. It's like that fear, you feel it, and then moving forward anyway, and and I'm still scared. Like, with everything, it's like, even with my career, sometimes I'm just like, am I crazy for dreaming this big? Because I have like my dreams are just like,
I literally call that delusional. I don't even know what I call it anymore. Like, just like this like delusional way of thinking that you're able to like get to something so big,
Grand.
Oh, delusional confidence. Delusional confidence. And it's the thing, because people who may not have such big dreams, like you do could be looking at you like, okay, yeah, that's
No,
cute.
but that's
like,
how people looked at me in high school. They were
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah. You're going to be a singer? Okay, cool.
Okay.
Like, or
Okay,
you're
sweetie.
going to like, yeah, like, so I interned for TV Guide, actually.
I remember that, yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah. And I remember like I was on set with all these celebrities and like, they'd be like, what do you do? And I was just like, you know, serving them food and stuff at the time. And I was like, yeah, I'm a singer and I act and I do these things. And they were just like, cool, sweetie. That's great. Keep going.
It's literally most of the time the response you get until they see you actually doing it. And then it's like, oh, you're actually doing it.
Yeah, I feel like I've made some progress and it's like...
You've made a lot of progress. You've come very far. I'm really proud of you. I'm really proud to call you my friend, and I'm always rooting for you and cheering you on. And
Likewise. Always, like forever. Yeah, and it's like, exactly, even from high school, it's like I'm so proud to see how far, you know, we've come as people and we've evolved together. And it's crazy because we're actually closer now.
yeah,
too.
than when we were in high school.
Yeah. And we were already close in high school, but yeah, just that evolution. And like, I think we both share that sense of like dreaming big and believing in love and just like living. And that's what it's all about, the journey, you know?
We love life.
Yes.
And that's why we are friends. Thanks for coming to my slumber party.
Oh, thanks
I
for
love
having
you.
me. I love you too.
And for sharing your journey.
Cheers.
Cheers to that.
To the future.
To the future and to being great. And an amazing, powerful woman.
Yes. Every day.
Every day. Every single second. Thanks for watching. Thank you again to our sponsor, Gleeman. Gleeman is all about enriching our global community with natural confidence by developing effective, clean, and superfood-rich formulas. We want to hear about what makes you very human. Join us in the conversation on social media by following us at Very Human Collective. Send us all your questions and comments. Until next time, good luck on your journey.